Welcome to this mini video whose title is Accessible and Modular Teaching Mini Videos. My name is Emilio Leton and I belong to the Artificial Intelligence Department of the University UNED. In this mini video, we will see what we mean by teaching mini videos, secondly, what we mean by modular teaching mini videos, and finally, the concepts and characteristics of what we call accessible and modular teaching mini videos. The concept of a teaching mini video is characterized by its duration, support, methodology, philosophy, and format. The duration of a mini video is between 5 and 10 minutes. The support in which a teaching mini video is designed are minimalist slides. The methodology that it is used is the digital board. And the philosophy underpinning it is I work, the teacher works, you work, the student works. The format in which you can view a teaching mini video is on the web or on a mobile telephone or similar devices. This concept of a teaching mini video was first introduced by Leton and collaborators in 2009, where it was applied to a subject of basic statistics within the scope of university classes. Let us now see in detail each of these elements that define a teaching mini video. The ideal duration of a mini video is between 5 and 10 minutes. In order to achieve this duration, an effort of synthesis has to be made, and it is necessary to have a structured vision. This is not difficult, but it requires some practice. Nevertheless, we have to remark that not everything can fit within a mini video. The mini video is a complement to other traditional teaching materials. The fact of this short duration makes it necessary to prepare your recording, rehearse several times, but at the same time, you have to be practical and not to worry about perfection. The used slides that we call maximalist are the ones that have all the information in them. The slides that we propose are minimalist, slides with little information or even empty slides. Here we have an example of a minimalist slide. It is almost empty. A formula appears saying that the resulting sum ends S when we add 1 plus 2 plus dots until n is equal to a question mark. This slide is inviting us to do something, a mini exercise that consists of giving a formula for the sum of the first n consecutive numbers. How do we fill a minimalist slide? The methodology that is used in the mini video is based on the digital board. In that board, the minimalist slides are projected, and on them we fill in those slides. This way of proceeding avoids the passive attitude of the students. The student has to do something, and also the student is thinking and writing each line, and in that order. First think, then write. And the speed of this process is the one that the student needs. And the digital finishing is the one that the student wants. These elements are achieved using the digital board. We are going to see how we fill in the previous sample of a minimalist slide, where it was required to compute the sum of the first n consecutive numbers. We would proceed as follows. In a first step, we put another line with S equal to the inverse order of the n consecutive numbers, n plus n minus 1 plus dots plus 1 and equal to a question mark. Now we make a line and add columns. On the left, we have s plus s equal to s. On the right, the first column is 1 plus n equal to n plus 1. The second column, 2 plus n minus 1 equal to n plus 1, and so on, to the last one, that is again n plus 1. As the adding n plus 1 on the right part appears n times, so 2s is equal to n times n plus 1. And the final formula says that the sum of the first n consecutive numbers is half the product of n by n plus 1. The teaching videos are based on the philosophy: I work, the teacher works; you work, the student works. We can ask ourselves if the actual teaching will have success or not. To answer that question, we can draw a 2x2 table, yielding 4 scenarios that correspond to the setting whether the teacher works or not, and if the student works or not. There is only one of those scenarios where both work, in which we will have success in the actual teaching. We have illustrated that scenario with a picture of a ship to indicate that both of them go working in the same ship. The ship where the teacher is making educational material and activities, for example, the mini videos, and the student is working with those educational material and activities. The format to visualize a mini video is on the web, streaming, or on a mobile telephone, or similar devices, 3GP, MP4, etc. Nevertheless, it is worthwhile to point out that the optimal way of the first viewing is on the computer, with the printed minimalist slides in order to fill in. Following the rhythm of the digital board, in the second viewing, mobile devices are ideal for reviewing, and this can be done in any place. For example, going to work, as we can see here in the picture. Being the duration of a mini video so short, an easy informatic treatment and an easy search of contents is possible. Besides, there is a real possibility of interchange between students through Bluetooth. The concept that we talk about now is the concept of modular teaching mini videos. Modular teaching mini videos have the same characteristics as the teaching mini videos in terms of duration, support, methodology, philosophy, and format. But a wider interconnection has been added to them through a modularity with different subjects. Also, there is a much wider scope of application with class teaching and distance learning. In the characteristic of modularity, multiple subjects have been added in order to enable the coordination among them. Moreover, this coordination is completed with the use of the teaching mini videos in the so-called zero courses and in postgraduate courses. The modular teaching mini videos can be used in university class as well in the distance university. There are not so many differences between them. In fact, they are converging through the concept of blended learning. Which is present in both of them. To end, we will talk about the concept of accessible and modular teaching mini videos. A way of growing in modular teaching mini videos is through the concept of a greater globality given by a greater accessibility. The concept of accessibility is a complicated concept. It is a process. The first steps for something to be accessible are the subtitling and the audio description. And we'll try to go forward as much as we can in this process. We'll finish this mini video summarizing what we have seen in it. Please stop the mini video and write the most important ideas you have learned from it. I'm going to continue, but you can make that effort at home to revise the most important concepts seen in it. In first place, we have seen the characteristics of the teaching mini videos. Secondly, the characteristics of the modular teaching mini videos. And finally, the characteristics of accessible modular teaching mini videos. For more information on how to develop accessible modular teaching mini videos, please contact the IUED and the CEMAV belonging to University UNED. The UED gives you how to develop modular teaching mini videos and the CMAP of how to make them accessible. We look forward to seeing you in the IUNED.